day to you, our esteemed viewers from the Advent Cable Network Nigeria, and welcome to another interesting edition of the program Disability Voice. I am Favour Ajara, your beautiful host. The disability program is created to educate the government, the church, and the general public that persons with disability should be loved, educated, empowered, and enabled, because disability is not a stigma and it's not a disease. Viewers, today we'll be looking at the topic poverty, the society, and disability. And here with me in the studio to tackle this topic is Tracy Onabis. Tracy Onabis is a lawyer, a disability rights advocate, and the Disability Inclusion Officer with Inclusive Friends Association and 2022 Mandela Washington Fellow. Tracy, you are welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So today we'll be looking at the topic disability, poverty, and the society. So Ms. Tracy, can you please tell us, share with us briefly what you do and why you choose to do those things you do, where you work, and why you choose to work in that particular sector?
Okay, like Ms. Favour mentioned already, I am a lawyer by profession, but I currently work in the development space in a non-governmental organization called the Inclusive Friends Association. It's an organization for persons with disabilities because our work is centered around the advancement of disability rights and promoting the inclusion of persons with disabilities across sectors. So why did I choose to work there? I don't think I actually chose to work in this sector. I'd say the sector chose me. Because oftentimes in my journey from the university to the law school to my first years I dabbled into practice, I didn't really understand why. Like, I didn't have that joy, that drive, that fulfillment from, being a lawyer and practicing and all of those things. But when I joined the Inclusive Friends Association, when I began to join colleagues to work on programs to promote the welfare and rights and inclusion of persons with disabilities, to speak up against gender-based violence or disability-based violence perpetrated against persons with disabilities, I began to find meaning. Because then I could use my legal background and tie it to the work that I do presently, and then it made more sense. So
that's interesting. That's interesting to know. Okay, so please, can you quickly tell us what you understand by disability and poverty?
Okay, disability, I would simplify it by saying that disability is an impairment that limits one's interaction with the environment, his or her immediate environment. For instance, as a person with albinism, I have low vision. So by reason of that low vision, I am not able to see objects that are really far or really tiny. So that is a limitation, and that makes it a disability. Or alternatively, if I stay under the sun like you would want to sunbath, and bask. If I try it, I will burn. That in itself is a disability. Or I want to run up a flight of stairs, but because I am a person with a physical disability, I use a wheelchair. I cannot run up those flights of stairs. So that is a disability. Or in the case of persons with psychosocial disorders like bipolar and stuff, you find that you have no control over your mental faculties per time or over your emotions. So any impairment that hinders or limits your interaction with the environment on on an equal basis with other people, that is what a disability is. And then there are several clusters of disability, because when people hear disability, they instantly think, oh, cripple. No, it's not limited to cripples or blind people alone. There's the deaf cluster, there's persons with albinism. Yes, persons with albinism are also persons with disabilities. There's physical disability, there is deaf blind, where a person is deaf and blind at the same time, and the way of communicating is through touch. Yes, so the United Nations has a wider spectrum of what disability is now. So much so that we hear that if you cannot perceive smell, it's a disability at that time. That's what disability is. And for poverty, the popular understanding is that when people live below $1 a day, they are poor. And if I want to say that, I'll say the dollar rating now for me to suit this definition, I'll use the central bank exchange rate, because the black market rate is very high. If you live on black market dollar rate, you're not poor. But if you live on the central bank dollar exchange rate, then that's the poverty line for me. So that's what I would describe as poverty, which is like below, say, 700 naira a day. You know.
That's interesting. Okay, now I want to say now, someone who is living below $1 price a day, that's the official price. That's around 400 plus. At least that person can still buy something to eat now.
But that is the standard, right? That is in the consciousness of most people when you hear poor. But of course, we know there are also people who do not even get up to that 400 naira a day. So that's why the operative word there is below. It could be that they only live on 20 naira. It could be that they only live on 100 naira. Maybe a family of 5 buy 1 cup of curry and something. So that's why the operative word there is below $1. Right? So let's say now below 500 naira, for instance.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay, now do you think that disability and poverty, they have anything in common? Maybe they are linked together, or when you talk of disability, you talk of poverty. Do you think they are interwoven? They have relationship in common or anything?
Yes.
Disability and poverty.
Yes, I'll say there's a link between disability and poverty in that one can cause the other. One can be as a result of the other. For instance, one can attain the status of disability as a result of poverty. If, for instance, they suffer, the mother suffered malnutrition when she was pregnant, that can affect the formation of the child and it may result in a disability. Or say somebody has an ailment and cannot afford medical care and that ailment results in a disability. For instance, I've had cases of people who were sick, maybe because their parents would not afford to take them to a proper hospital, they take them to maybe a midwife or somebody who practices medicine under some sort of certification. They give them one injection, they return deaf. So that's why I say the link is that one can cause the other. And also, poverty is a major offshoot of disability because persons with disability, majority of persons with disability, some have the requisite education but do not have livelihood. They do not get jobs after schooling, no businesses, or others do not even have that educational qualification at all. And because of that, they cannot fend for themselves. They have to depend on handouts, they have to depend on people, they have to beg, to be able to survive. So that is the connection between disability and poverty. One can lead to the other.
Okay, thank you very much for that enlightenment. I still want to go further, Tracy, to ask, do you think that poverty can be eradicated? When we talk of disability, we're in the disability community, do you think in the society now, because we're looking at it from the society perspective, do you think poverty can be eradicated?
Eradicated now? No, nobody can eradicate any poverty. That is my thinking.
Why do you say so?
I would say that poverty can be reduced.
Okay.
But to eradicate, no. It cannot be eradicated. It can be reduced. The effect can be mitigated. It can be cushioned. But to eradicate poverty, even there's a part of the scripture that says the poor will always be among you. I don't know. I do not quote it because I don't know the exact, but it's in the Bible. So poverty cannot altogether be eradicated. It can be reduced. It can be managed. If some things are done.
Okay, so how do you think that poverty can be managed to reduce the cost of disability in the society?
Okay, let me rephrase it like this. To reduce, how would I say now? Like the effect of poverty on persons with disabilities can be managed by, first of all, if society, starting from our immediate families, understand, come to the consciousness that disability is only a condition, right? It's a condition that does not entirely disqualify the bearer of the condition. It would help a lot. For instance, families who have 4 children and one of those 4 children has a disability, most families would send the other 3 to school and not send the 4th child who has a disability. Automatically, they have taken away that person's chances of ever being successful in life. without an education. So if they manage to send the child to an education, which is usually late in life, as it is with a lot of persons with disability, I know, they finish school and then they come to the employment market, then it becomes a different ballgame altogether. Employers do not want to employ persons with disability because some think disability is equal to retardation, or they feel that they do not have enough resources to put reasonable accommodation in place for persons with disability to thrive. So if, for instance, you are an employer of labor and you employ persons with disabilities, you put the accommodations they need to thrive. For instance, you employ a person who is deaf, and say you cannot employ a sign language interpreter at the same time, but he writes, right? For him to be able to get employment, he's educated, he writes, you write instructions to him, he takes and he does it. Or you employ a blind person and he has JAWS on his computer. Have you seen blind people use computers? Of
course.
They do it way better than sighted people. I say that unapologetically. Way better than some sighted people, maybe. So if that attitudinal barrier, that stigma, that discrimination, those stereotypes that are born out of misconceptions that have been passed down from generation to generation. Persons with disabilities, they are cursed, disability is contagious. I remember growing up when pregnant women are walking on the road and I'm passing, people be like, don't look at that, so your child will not have albinism. I'm like, as how? How will I fly into your womb and So, or you see a person who is crippled, they pinch the front of the stomach and the back so that the baby, their disability is not contagious. I know we're growing as a nation, and I'm seeing some changes. And God willing, with time, we're going to see more acceptance of persons with disability in the employment spaces. And also, people who do, apart from employment, another thing that can also reduce the effect of poverty of persons with disabilities is livelihood skills. And these should not be limited to soap making, basket making alone. That is what most people just come and do. They just gather people with disability, they teach how to make liquid soap. I make liquid soap in my house, so I don't buy. If you make, I will not buy. So teach them skills that are in demand, a bit on demand, skills that people will need.
That are sellable.
Exactly, in the present day Nigeria, not skills that are archaic or skills that everybody has and they will not want to buy. So if we do those things, it will help to reduce the vulnerability line of persons with disabilities as regards poverty. And families of persons with disabilities should take steps, encourage them. When a person with disability wants to learn a certain skill, they're like, how you want to learn now? On their own, they just discourage you. They don't even want to, okay, let her try and then let's see. Empathy is what we need to show to persons with disabilities. Sometimes I feel they stop them because they love them. They want to protect them. If people see you now, you have really low vision and you are learning tailoring and you're trying to pass the needle through the thread, they're going to laugh at you. We don't want that. It's going to, mentally drain. Let them laugh. Let the person go out there and experience it. Don't stop them altogether. So if they have that support back home, then if we have that support back home, not they, persons with disabilities can actually go out there and make, a whole lot of difference. There's this company in the US, it's called the Cook Groups. They produce medical supplies that are taken to hospitals across the world. They have a particular department where it's persons with disabilities, they employ them. I don't know the name of the stuff they make there, so that I don't use the wrong. But that department, they employ persons with disabilities to work there. Those persons with disabilities now have a sense of belonging. They have a sense of worth. At the end of the month, they get a paycheck to do whatever they want to do with it. So if employers in Nigeria can also set aside, blind people can do data entry jobs. Deaf people can do a lot of things. If you speak with educated people with disabilities, you will be like, wow. Even those who did not get formal education but have skills, they tend to actually do it really, really well. How about if you have a quota like the government will say, okay, I want to buy bags of rice to distribute for my political campaign. And you buy 50 bags of rice from a farmer with a disability. Do you know the difference it will make in the life of that farmer? Or you want to make school bags with your face printed on it to share. You want to make these sling-on bags to share at your rally. And you engage a person with disability who makes bags or who makes shoes to do those things. It will go a long way. So if you're intentional about engaging persons with disabilities, both in the formal employment sector or informally in terms of those who have skills, it will actually help in managing the poverty and reducing it.
Thank you very much for that enlightenment. This is really interesting and it's wonderful to hear this from you. So now, before we quickly go on a short break, I still want to add, persons with disability out there, yes, we know of some of us that are graduates, we are able to do one or two things, but due to low self-esteem, they cannot even come out to say, yes, let me even start applying for something, or let me even start to do something for myself. What would you say about that? How do we encourage these people to come out to make sure they are able to?
The thing is, I wouldn't blame them entirely, because it's what you don't hear does not hurt, and all of these things are born out of the stereotypes and misconceptions we were talking about. But what I can say is that you and I, we've had an overdose of all of those snide remarks people make when they see you walk in a room. But what I do that I would encourage every person with disability out there to do is this: you know your worth, you know what you carry, whether you had formal education or not rather. There is something you are capable of doing that nobody can do as good as you. Even if you don't even have anything you are capable of doing, know that you are a person first before the disability, and that alone is enough for you to walk around however you want to walk without feeling belittled by the remarks that people make. So I'm walking on the road and people be like, Oyibo Pepe. I'm like, really? In this time and age? But then I look at it, I'm like, oh, this one is actually, his orientation is low.
Yeah.
He does not have the exposure.
Yeah.
Before I usually create time and call the person. I'm like, oh, Oyibo is not a way of addressing a person. You may think it's funny, but my name is Tracy. If you want to address me properly. But these days when you get to your point, you will be schooled properly. But persons with disabilities need to understand that you are first a person. The disability is only a condition that is not tied to your intellect. It's not tied to your destiny. It's not tied to what God has actually destined you to be. God is not an author of confusion. God would have made everybody without a disability. He would have made everybody white or everybody black. So people face discriminations based on different things. Ours is just that we face it on the basis of disability. But it is also how you carry yourself sometimes that also matters. So even when they are trying to bring you down, you sit on top of everything they are throwing at you. And with time, they would accept you exactly how you portray yourself to be accepted. So
thank you very much. Thank you very much. Viewers, we'll be going on a short break, and when we return, we'll continue with the conversation. Don't go anywhere.
Now streaming, now analyzing, now assessing, now discussing, now sharing your thoughts on everything and every issue that affects you. ACNN is now streaming, discusses the issues trending and the matters that matter to us all. Join us every Monday to Friday at 10 a.m. on ACNN as we go in depth into every issue that impacts our lives, our communities, and our country.
Welcome back, viewers. If you are just joining us, today's program is Disability Voice. And still here with me in the studio is Barrister Tracy. And the topic we are dealing with today is disability, poverty, and the society. Before we went on break, we were talking of how we can reduce poverty in the society. Poverty that leads to disability, poverty that can cause even disability. Now, just like what you explained, you said poverty cannot be eradicated. That was the language.
Yeah.
Poverty cannot be eradicated, but at least can be reduced in the society. Now, I still want to go further to ask. There was a time we have experience with some persons with disability. They are graduates and they are able to, in fact, they are qualified for the job, but they were not given the job. What will you advise the society on that?
Okay, I would say that persons with disabilities deserves every opportunity on an equal basis with persons without disabilities. Do not conclude just because the person has a disability that the person is not going to be productive. Give them the chance and see. If the person is not productive You can't even tie the unproductivity straight directly to the disability. There could be other factors, like maybe where the person is staying is far or something. There are people without disabilities who are not productive in their jobs. But people overlook it and tie it to spiritual problems or something, village people. But when it comes to a person with disability, they won't even give you the chance. They'll just conclude that you will not be productive. It's very, very wrong. Persons with disabilities are, like I said without mind-seeing words, are like among the most intelligent people you will see. There's this thing that is called the law of natural compensation, such that something you lack physically or mentally or something, God makes up for it in other ways. So if you see a person with disability that went to school, trust me, they are going to blow your mind.
Even the ones that didn't go to school.
Exactly, and they learn it. They just have this ability to just do it really, really well. Yes. So let's stop hastily concluding when a person with disability comes to submit CVs alongside other people, you just single out their own and dump it in the trash. It's not fair. It's discrimination actually, and it's actionable because the Disability Act now says that if you discriminate a person on the basis of their disability, they can actually sue. So a lot of Nigerians are feigning ignorance that they don't know that act exists here. It actually exists. There is a law that is called the Discrimination Against Persons with Disability Act that covers a lot of rights and privileges for persons with disability. So employers of labor in the private sector, in the public sector, do not discriminate against the person on the basis of their disability. Give them the chance and let them show you what they can do. If the person does not have the qualifications for the job as stipulated in the description, they will not come to you to apply in the first place. It's because I know I can do it, that's why I am there. I was also going to mention the other time while we were looking at what we could do to reduce poverty. All these things that government do, empower, this social intervention, social safety nets, they are all part of social protection. My organization, the Inclusive Friends, we carried out a survey one time in 4 states to find out how inclusive were the social protection programs that the government had. And we found out that the number of persons with disabilities who actually benefit from these things are actually very small. So if government can have standalone programs, in other countries they have things like disability grants, where you are able to access funds on the basis of your disability. We can set out, as stipulated in the Disability Act as well, that for every recruitment that is done in the government, it has to be for persons with disabilities. And do not allow the staff of those MDAs to fill it with their family members who are not persons with disabilities. Let it actually be, those positions actually be occupied by persons with disabilities. And you would have lifted up those few people, no matter how small the number is, out of that vulnerability line. If we have empower or recruitment onward, let's have, this empowered this set or this batch rather would have 200 persons with disabilities. And it has to be proven. If you are deaf, you will have to know, don't come and fake that you are deaf, otherwise it's well. So
thank you very much. So now can you tell the viewers your last or your encouragement to persons with disability, to the general public, to make sure that poverty is reduced in the society? Your last words, please.
My last words on this topic would be that persons with disabilities deserve every opportunity on an equal basis with persons without disabilities. Stop the stereotypes, stop the stigma, give persons with disabilities the opportunities to thrive in your organizations, in your establishments, in your homes. If you have persons with disabilities as family members, please do not lock them up, do not isolate them. They need the love and the support of the family to be able to go out there and make the most out of everything. And one last thing, disability is not contagious. It's not as a result of a curse. And one more beautiful thing about disability, it can happen to anybody. If you were not born with it, like as it is in my case, it can happen to anybody. So imagine if tomorrow anybody that is watching today becomes a person with disability. Somebody will do like this to Fiakwa, yes, but then COVID made people attain status of disability. An accident can happen to anybody at any time. And an operation gone wrong, and a wrong injection can lead to anything. And then you will now realize, oh my God, if I had known. So join us today to work towards the inclusion of persons with disabilities, to work towards the respect for the fundamental rights of persons with disabilities, and let's make the society an all-inclusive and a better place for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Barrister Tracy, for coming.
Thank you
into the program today. We really appreciate you, and we hope to have you again on this program.
Thank you.
Viewers, this is where we cut the curtain of today's program, The Disability Voice. And remember, disability is not a stigma. And also remember that there is ability in disability. And one more last word is, remember also that disability is everyone's business, because if you are praying for old age, then get ready to also experience disability. With this, I will say that we'll see you same time, same station next week. And for now, I'm Favor Agara. Bye for now.